This is The Art of Startup War, and I am your host, Brian McMahon. I am the sensei here at Expert Dojo, the fastest growing startup accelerator in Southern California. Now, in the first 2 seasons, we answered your questions about how to find investment for your business. We brought in the most accomplished investors in startup in America. You can find it on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Now, here in season 3, we're flipping the script. We're going to hear real stories from entrepreneurs who are in the trenches today. In these episodes, we're going to take our guests through the storytelling model called the entrepreneur's journey. We'll hear about what sparked their call to entrepreneurship, help they received along the way, forces they overcame, dark times and revelations. So join us every Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Start the week a smarter entrepreneur. Good morning, it is 10 o'clock, it is Tuesday, it's Brian at Expert Dojo. This is our holiday broadcast. So this podcast is really our summary, I suppose, of the entire year of 2018, what we've gone through as a company, the companies we've brought on, the investments we've made, and a lot of the lessons that we've learned during the year. I also want to take in maybe the climate with the investors and who's investing and who's not and where they are. So let's start with us, first of all. So we started off at Expert Dojo with around beginning of this year, we had about 4 companies that we had equity stakes in. And our view with those companies was to either put small investments in or to put our people into. And then for those companies to really become part of Expert Dojo. Obviously, our whole play is an equity play. We then, as the year progressed, added another 9 or 10 companies in there. We then launched our accelerator towards midway through, I suppose, towards Q4 of 2018. And in that accelerator, we decided that we were going to invest in as many companies as we possibly could. And we decided we were going to invest in those companies in the absolute earliest stage. So we would put $50,000 in the company, and then we would take an equity stake, depending on where the company were. And I got to tell you, I love every single day. I love every interaction with every startup, every investor, every meeting, everything that happens. Like it's hard. For those of you who are startups, you get it. Because this is not just a roller coaster. I think that's a little bit too easy to say. But this is such a turbulent journey that you don't know what's going to happen in a day. You just know it's going to be something that you never, ever, ever expected. Now, if you are not a startup, you can't even imagine, because everything for you is planned out and ready, but I wish you had the opportunity to be able to experience what we went through. We brought in some companies like Zap, a phenomenal scooter company that we're actually going to do a podcast on next year. And they had a phenomenal year where they've not only raised money, raised another 1.3 million. They're in really good shape. They have another 400 scooters are being deployed into more colleges. We had our wonderful friends, Craig, who we did a podcast with earlier in the year. And Craig had this really strong message of build a great value proposition and persevere like crazy. And he went to see investor after investor after investor after investor. And every time they told him something, he took it in, he adapted, he changed, he came back, and he fixed whatever either he and they agreed that he should fix. And hey, presto, he came up with 1.5 million raise and then came back for another raise of a bridge round of another 1.5 million. And while the first 1.5 million was incredibly hard, the second 1.5 million was almost laughably easy. Isn't that incredible? Like, it's so simple to get it the second time, but the first time is so hard. And that, for me, the lesson in Craig was just so much about keep building, make it great, really focus on making sure that you've got phenomenal fundamentals in your company and you build a great platform, and then it just gets easier and easier. So we were so pleased with him that everything went so well. Obviously, Chelsea at Shipsy, Another great success story over here at the Dojo. Chelsea must have pitched to 200 VCs. Had a great company, immediate logistics, so you could have anything delivered anywhere in your city within an hour. So imagine that in your local clothes store. And she persevered, found Jesse Draper, who's a phenomenal investor here, and then every other investor followed. What was our lesson here? Our lesson is, if you get the right lead investor, then even investors who've said no before, they will come back in. I think with Chelsea, she had 5 or 6 venture capitalists. And I won't say they all followed Jesse Draper, but I will say it suddenly became a really easy conversation when Jesse Draper came on board, and everything else closed within a couple of very short weeks after that had happened. Who else did we have? We had Tony, who you heard recently on our podcast. Tony built a car company. Like, who builds a car company? And again, the lesson that I took from him was that you don't have to look for investment if you build something truly spectacular. The other lesson actually from Tony, not just about the car and what he built within the car, was just more about, if you're building products, make sure people can see you. So he had the suitcase that turned into a scooter that he would then ride around the airports. And Shark Tank found him when he had that as well. We also had Sean at Go Snow, another great success story. Sean raised a bunch of money, has launched his product, is now in ski resorts all around the US. And Sean, famously said, it's really all about clarity of vision. It's about making sure that you can see where the end goal is and you do not take your eyes off it unless maybe the end goal line is different. But he went through a tough time too. And what was interesting with just so many of the companies that have gone through Expert Dojo is that really just the ability to persevere in the face of odds which seem like they are unsurmountable. And not just Sean and Chelsea and Craig and Tony, but really all of the entrepreneurs who came through the program. Now, we had a few more as well, but I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to look at the investors. And I want to talk a tiny bit about how the investment climate in LA has changed. And I believe the investment climate in LA, in Los Angeles, is reflective of the investment climate all over the world, right? Because if we went back 10, 15 years ago, there were very few venture capitalists, at least ones that would lend to an early stage startup. There was hardly any accelerators and definitely very few that would give money to company that would get follow-on investment through. You could get some friends and family, but even that was in short supply, so it was challenging. If we even went back 5 years ago, and it was 5 years ago that I first arrived here in LA, and I looked around the local environment, and at that time there was about 3 accelerators that took in about 10 companies per year each. There was a very famous Idea Labs over here who are amazing. You had Amplify, who are absolutely phenomenal. And then you had Launchpad and maybe Mucker Labs as well. But that was pretty much it. Now, if you look at 30 companies or 40 companies getting investment in a town where you have millions of people who are either coming in or out every single year, you realize it's a drop in the ocean. And the follow-on investment situation here was even more difficult because, remember, if you get seed money, you then have to get Series A and Series B and Series C. I mean, forget about it. There was nobody doing Series A. And the 3 or 4 major funds we had here, Crosscut, Upfront Ventures, Greycroft, and maybe March Capital, forgive me if I've left any out, but there were very few, 4 or 5 funds in the entire LA, and they would only do a few follow-on investments. So if we only have 30 companies coming through accelerators, if we only have a couple of dozen who are going through the follow-on investments, then what chance did an early stage startup have? And that was the problem with Los Angeles, Ohio, Austin, Dallas, Boston, anywhere. It was the problem with every single one because it was a closed shop. If you were in San Francisco and you were connected, even if you were a mediocre entrepreneur, you had a very good chance of being successful. But all that's changed over the last couple of years. Now, if I now fast forward to this year, 2018, which is our year in review, we've seen accelerators spring up everywhere. I mean, Backstage Ventures, maybe more of a fund, but they'll do $25,000, $50,000. We have the wonderful folks from Quake, the accelerator from New York, have moved down here as well. We at Expert Dojo started a fund where we were investing $50,000 into companies, and we continue to do so today. Our friends over at Stubbs Alderton, the attorneys and the pre-accelerator, they launched a fund. We also had Fusion launched a fund. We even had universities launched a fund as well. I would say for the very first time as an early stage entrepreneur, if you have a really good product, or if you have a really good idea, if you have some pedigree, i.e. you can show that there is a line of sight to you getting a decent exit or an acquisition, then there's money for you. I would argue there's never been more money for you. I said to a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago that I truly believe that we are living in the greatest time that has ever existed in startup. Greatest time, for real. It's like a Beatles moment for me. I feel like I'm Linda McCartney taking pictures of the greatest bands in the world. Beatles, Rolling Stones. We got it all happening right here in front of us. And it's not just LA. It's LA, it's New York, it's Boston, it's Tel Aviv. China are doing incredible things as well. And actually, I'm going to talk a bit about that in a second. But we just have a really great investment climate. And as an early stage startup, my advice to you is just get to really understand. I get to understand which investors are providing investment at what stages. Get to understand what they really care about. Listen to all of our podcasts. We literally now, not only did we do the first 30 or 40 podcasts with investors themselves, talking about why they invest, how they invest, who they invest in, but we've now taken the last 30 podcasts and we focused those on entrepreneurs who talk about what their exact journey was. So if you really want to feel the startup environment from an investment perspective, it's here. It's all around you. And we're always really happy to share. This for me was always a big part of the dojo, to try and make sure that education and also the ability for you to be able to reach investors was something that we put front of house for you all the time. Okay, so what's next? We've covered some of our startups. You all know that we're probably going to be hitting about 20 companies at the end of this year that we have equity positions in. I mentioned some of them here. We're looking to invest in another 50 companies next year. That is 50. We're going to be taking those companies from everywhere from Tel Aviv, from, crikey, if we get some good companies in South Korea, we've seen some wonderful companies over there, from Europe. And even if there's some good technologies in China, we're going to take those guys over here as well. So we want to see the whole world getting a little bit smaller. And we've really noticed that within this environment, within the startup space, there are so many brilliant people in so many incredible places that not to look further than LA would be a crime. I remember when I first met Jonathan from Aggressively Organic, and he blew my mind. From Indiana. I would never have met him if we hadn't have partnered on a conference. And he is solving world hunger. I get to be a part of solving world hunger. How incredible is that? Or Alessandra, who's over from Hong Kong, who is creating one of the greatest carnival cruise companies in the world. Live events on cruises created under trailers which are co-partnered by Ridley Scott with mythical adventures of the seas. How phenomenal. So we definitely intend to look for more and more of those companies and try and bring as much of this greatness as we possibly can together here in Los Angeles. So what else? What else has happened this year? We've also seen, I think, a move away from Silicon Valley, which I really like. Silicon Valley is dominated for way too long. I've always felt that the innovation and the creativity has been disappearing from there over the last 5 to 10 years. And now we're seeing the investors starting to fish further afield, which is, again, a really powerful indication that other cities, more creative cities, and again, whether it's Los Angeles or Tel Aviv or anywhere else, that we have the real ability to be able to break through with some of the unicorns, some of the great companies of maybe 2025. Okay, so next I want to talk a little bit about, I've talked about what's happened in the dojo. I've talked a little bit about what's happening within investment. I want to speak a tiny bit to what's actually happening in how startups are growing their businesses versus before. So before it was disturbing. If I went back 5 years, the model was pretty much the San Francisco model. Wake up in the morning, come up with an idea, go to investors, ask for money. So a lot of the time that worked, short term. But because of that type of model, the entrepreneurs generally always lost out, and the investors would drive the Ponzi scheme up as high as they could go until they got out of Dodge. What I'm seeing more recently is, number one, a far stronger focus on building great businesses. And it's not just here at the dojo. Look, we insist on it anyway. We want people to have strong fundamentals which are making a real difference in the world. And then we know that business is going to break through. Whatever the multiple is, who cares? It's going to break through, and it's going to break through strong, and it's going to stay for a long time. But not just within us, but we've also seen the same outside as well. More of a focus on business development, more of a focus on building your influence level, more of a focus on building a beautiful brand, a focus on making sure that you as a company are strongly positioned to be able to be safe in the future. So what does that mean? It means that Mark Zuckerberg used to say, move fast and break things. Now he says, move fast on a strong foundation. So it means building the right foundation for your business. What else? We've seen a strong focus on community. I can count almost in every single podcast I have with our startups, community, 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 community. It just comes over and over and over again. So incredibly powerful and leaves us in a place where we just keep wanting more. And then really for us, what was a surprise from me, and look, I'm an emotionally autistic, Irish, repressed Catholic guy. So you don't get more emotionally autistic than that. And I've always felt up to this time that to be a great entrepreneur, all you had to do was just drive like a bull. Not just because I'm a Taurus, but just go like a bull. You go through a wall, and if there's another wall, brilliant. That's another wall that you can go through. And if there's another wall, even better. And I've started not just with the folks that come through the dojo, not just the folks outside, not just what I see around the United States and around the rest of the world, but also some of my own feelings, some of the things that have been hitting me with regards to family and friends and work ethic and just really work-life balance. I've started to really see the importance of mindset. So we intend in 2019 to place mindset and making sure you have a strong mindset for your business and for your life as absolutely front of focus in our accelerator. We want our entrepreneurs to be safe and happy and then successful. We don't believe you have to compromise. Now, it's not easy, and the answer isn't as simple as saying meditate more or go to a yoga class on a Tuesday morning. It's much more about how do you frame the situation that you have around you, and how do you make sure that you do it in a way that's positive for you and positive for your business. So really, really looking forward to that. And I would like to look at what's coming through. I'm not going to talk about what trendy businesses or under-trendy businesses were for the year of 2018, but I do want to show you and give you a little glimpse into what we have planned for 2019. So, as I mentioned, we are looking to make another 50 investments throughout the world. We are looking for the same beasts of entrepreneurs that we had before. Our ratio of women to men was slightly higher on women to men. We believe it will stay similar to that going forward. We just put 2 more term sheets out today for investments. Both of those are female entrepreneurs. We want to see if we can move the bar a little bit further than we did before. So prior to this, for those of you who haven't been to Expert Dojo, I want you to try and create a image in your head of an old broken restaurant on the top of the Santa Monica shopping mall. And this was one of many restaurants that had tried to succeed here. And we came in as Expert Dojo and we said, look, I don't know that we can do a better job than these folks here, but what I do know is that there is no better location to put an accelerator for entrepreneurs, to put a place of learning and expansion for entrepreneurs than a failed business which is crying out for another use. So we did all these crazy funky things, like we have a fridge in here in the kitchen that I'm in right now, and we put padding on the fridge and eggshells on the fridge and turned it into a podcasting studio. And if you could see me inside a fridge with eggshell all around me in the greatest sound studio in LA, you'd laugh. But it makes me feel really proud because we built something without very much. And then, I took over the place and, my means are not limited, not unlimited, somewhere there in the middle. But to build an accelerator space the size of this is incredibly expensive and difficult, and especially when we're doing investments as well. But we had Court Furniture, who are our really wonderful friends and a great friend to the startup community, come in and say, look, we would like to help and give you guys some furniture so we can give you a head start on what you're going to do with entrepreneurs. We like what you're doing. The mall, they gave us just a great break on rent and gave us a deal that we just couldn't say no to. So again, don't you see, like if you're doing something good and with the right intentions, the universe somehow provides what needs to be provided. And then after doing a few investments myself, we brought in a fantastic limited partner who we launched our acceleration fund through, and then other great limited partners in the dojo as well. So that's the foundation that you have to visualize here. An 8,000 square foot unit right on the top of the mall, really nice balcony overlooking 3rd Street Promenade, and the earliest stages entrepreneurs that you could possibly imagine coming in here with dreams of creating a better future. And for the whole year, that's what we did. And then we built program on top of program on top of program on top of program. So here's where we're going to go in 2019. We're going to take the programs that we've built, which are just for our accelerator, and we're going to take those training programs and give them access to everybody. I want everyone to know how to start a business. I want you to know how to build a brand, how to build a product fit. I want you to know how to take your business to the next level, how to find investment, how to get the right mindset, everything. We're going to give opportunities for people to be able to jump on Zoom room calls with our experts and mentors and investors and our providers and everybody else. So again, you can all become stronger. I want tens, if not hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs to be able to get on that first rung to starting your own business. What else are we going to do? We're going to open up the front space of Expert Dojo, which is a huge, big French doors that overlooks the shopping court, the food court, and we're going to turn it into the first shop in America where you can buy pieces of companies. Now, we will be calling it a Testing the Water Regulation A campaign. And what that means is that certain companies are able to see if people would like to invest in their companies. They will not get direct investment, but they will get an indication of interest, which is almost the same thing. So we're really looking forward to that. We've got Tony's car, his beautiful electric sports car in the front. We're going to have Zap's vehicles in the front. We'll have their 3-wheeler scooter. We'll have their electric bicycle. We'll have their awesome scooter there as well. We're going to have Sean is going to have a skiing machine or a snowboarding machine. I just hope nobody falls down. It's going to get messy. And we're going to have the wonderful statues. We got the Hulk, a 12-foot statue of the Hulk. And we want people to come into the mall. We want them to come from Tokyo and Saudi Arabia and Santa Monica and Ireland and everywhere. I want them to come into the mall and we want them to wonder at the innovation that is being created from absolutely nothing. All of these people are building something which never existed before. So for me, it's tremendously exciting. I also want to launch further funds on top of this. I want us not just to have $50,000 funds that we give out to people. I want us to be able to do 100,000 and 200,000. We want to grow and grow and grow, and so that we can be infectious for entrepreneurs everywhere in the world. And we want to build this huge investor network for any investors, anyone out there who wants to get access to entrepreneurs, then they can always contact me at brian@expertdojo.com. And I want to finish up a little bit here, but I would like to say I want to have, more than anything aligned with all of this, I want us to have transparency. So I want people to be able to see everything with the entrepreneurs that we're working with, warts and all. I want you to know them, to be able to understand them. I want you to be able to see their story. We want to have their milestones tracked publicly on our website for you to be able to see, and their actuals against those milestones. So again, you can see that too. And we want all of it. And we want to make sure that whether you're an investor, a partner, a provider, or another startup, that you feel empowered to feel that actually if you build something organically and authentically, damn, you're going to build something incredible, and people are going to really respect that, and they're going to love it. So that's our mandate. That's our mandate for 2019. That's what we have coming in. I think we also have possibly a TV show on the books as well, and we also have a book that's going to be coming out on entrepreneurship. This is all about getting this message out to the whole wide world. So I want to finish this by, firstly, everybody in my team here at Expert Dojo, thanking them for everything they've done this year. John on the investment has been a demon finding investments for all of our people. Sophie and Maria on marketing and training have turned not just our marketing and training departments, but also the departments of all of our startups into supersonic force. Brian McDermott, my great friend over the last 10, 15 years, who's helped us with all of the business and development here at the dojo. We've been so fortunate to have Alex Kisson come in, who ran an accelerator over in the UK, Ignite, for years and years, and invested in so many companies and gave us the domain expertise that we needed to launch this fund. We got Troy, who came in as an intern, and we love the guy. We've got Sophia, who came in as an intern, and we adore her. We had Beishi last year, who was absolutely instrumental in getting us into the Chinese project as well. So for me, my team is like family. They just make a difference in my life and our startup lives every single day. I also want to say a big thank you to all of my friends, all of my family, my son, my wife, everyone. You're all phenomenal. How you put up with the crap that we put you through, actually, that I put you through, I have no idea. But at this end of year, I appreciate it all. And most importantly, or just as importantly, to our startups, to our listeners, to everybody who's involved in entrepreneurship. Without you, none of this could exist. We love being a part of it. We love seeing what you're doing and trying to help in any way that we can. So look, it's brian@expertdojo.com. Anybody can contact me anytime. If I'm not the best person, I'll get one of my teammates to get on to you. But if it's involved in driving entrepreneurship forward, we're all yours. So have a happy Christmas, a happy Hanukkah, a happy everything else in every single country in the world. If you're a startup, we're looking forward to getting you started in 2019 and being a massive part of your journey. Thanks for joining us. If you love the podcast, please empower your circle by sharing these stories. The Art of Startup War is brought to you by Expert Dojo. And remember, we invest in startups, $50,000 checks. Make sure you apply on our site if you are one of those great entrepreneurs looking to bring your company to the next level. As far as the Art of Startup War is concerned, we are back every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. So remember, check out the new episodes. If you want to find out what the investors think, check out season 1 or 2. But make sure you join us every single week.